So I tell the woman, let's say God that we don't think he knows better and he wasn't nice. Help us to change. If I need to change, show me my change. Wasn't received very well. And to be honest, I can't continue taking rides with that person if they're not willing to change. It says in Proverbs, don't make friends with an angry person, lest you corrupt your own soul. Again, like I said before, you reap what you sow. So, if they're not open to hearing that, you have to move on. So that you're not their accomplice, so that you don't become like them. You know, if they're not open to it and I tell them every time, I'm going to become a nag. I'm going to become contentious. You know, and if the person ever asked me, how come you're going to go ride with me? I said, well, I tell you, but you're going to be angry with me. And then they would, no, I won't. So that kind of set them up, right? They're going to be angry with me, I'm going to show it. And they actually might be more open-minded to what you're going to say. And I say, well, to be honest, for me personally, it doesn't help me to yell at other drivers who can't even hear me. And, you know, I don't want to impose my way of life upon you. But if I ride with you, I'm going to learn your behavior. Luckily, I have children, so it's easier. And there's this video that came out in Greek about a kid who was really rude with a toy truck on the beach. And then it shows his father being rude in the car, and it says, well, what kind of an example are you setting? And so I can always bring that up. In fact, I have it on my phone. I like to play it if they haven't seen it. Or just remind them of it. I said, do you agree with that video? They said, yeah, absolutely. I said, well, I'll learn it from you, and then I'll do it to my kids, right? I shouldn't do that in front of my kids. Their attitude is, well, your kids aren't here. Okay, my kids aren't here and you have the flu, so I shouldn't take precautions and not get the flu? No, you're going to give me the flu and then I'm going to give them the flu. It's common sense. It's about love. It's about enduring tantrums. My son, he didn't want to go to sleep. I say, son, you're sleepy. You go to sleep. He doesn't want to go to sleep, so he makes the first premise false. I'm not sleepy, Dad. Because he's trying to get his own way. That's what it says in Galatians 5. Here's what happens when you try to get your own way. And it's the instinct, it's the natural man. The supernatural man, I'm sleepy, but I don't want to sleep. He doesn't know that. It needs to be taught. So I tell him, it's okay to not want to go to sleep, to be honest. It's not okay for you to say you're not sleepy when you are. Because you're not just lying to me, you're lying to yourself. Worst lie, denial. Jesus said 70 times 7, right? That's what it takes for them to change a habit. So I don't know, 2-3 times a day, 2-3 weeks go by, and just out of the blue, he says to my wife, I'm sleepy, but I don't want to go to sleep. And I was supposed to hear that. They were in another room and I heard it. It takes a while for us to love one another and to put up with each other's mistakes. Now that's forbearance. I think I've shared it before. There was a woman who said, you won't believe what this other woman did. And I'm like, okay, I understand she hurt you, but you're not helping her. And they think by not saying something, they're forbearing. No, the forbearance is, yeah, they admit they're wrong, and yeah, they apologize for it, and yeah, they may even make amends for it, or need to make amends for it, but they do it again. And again. That's why Jesus said 70 times 7. It says, if he repents, then forgive him. The word then is there. The word if is there. Jesus said, if you're unfaithful in the few, you'll be unfaithful in the many. the culture you have in the few, you will have in the many. And you'll think, oh, no, 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 I wouldn't cover up rape. You know, most evangelicals are appalled at the Catholic Church having covered up rape. You know what? I was involved in a community where something like that happened, and they didn't want to deal with it. I wasn't a church member or the clergy, as you might call it, but they flat out didn't want to deal with it. And my wife went to one of the women and go, why didn't you do anything? Oh, I don't even know if it's true. I mean, what an excuse. I don't even know if it's true. So look into it. It's a big deal. And, you know, this girl was pulling her hair out because she'd been traumatized. So what? She's pulling her hair out to sell her lie to you? To convince you of her lie? She's such a con at 13 years old? So you think you wouldn't cover up rape. Let me tell you what, the evangelicals are no different than the Catholics. They're more worried about their reputation. They're whitewashed tombs. And they don't understand that when you look someone in the eye and you say, you're a whitewashed tomb, that is the most loving thing you can say. Because if I thought you were worthless, if I thought you wouldn't change, I wouldn't tell you. Now most people say it to say, I'm better than you. You're a whitewashed tomb. That's not why I say it. I've been changed. It's not why God says it. God says, because I'm trying to wake you up. Because I don't want you to be a whitewashed tomb. He says, repent. You know, they fling at me defiance. They fling at me, and let me tell you how they're defiant. Jesus said to the woman caught in adultery, go and sin no more. Or let he who was without sin cast the first stone. I said, yes, that's exactly what he said. Go and sin no more. But you're using it as an excuse to not deal with sin. One guy said to me, it's between me and God. I said, are you quoting David? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. David says, against you only, God, have I sinned. I said, and how did David repent? Nathan had the guts to love him. And you'll say, oh, yeah, so you think you're a prophet. Guys, stop with the excuses. They asked John if he was a prophet, and he said no. Yet it says in the New Testament, you may all prophesy. Do I gotta be a prophet to tell my son? You know, there's the one guy, Chris, I made a video about him. You know, he was really wrong with his kids on several occasions. And finally one day I said something to him. Who are you to get in between me and my kids? So first of all, I didn't get in between. I talked to you privately without your son present. So don't say in between. Secondly, who am I? Quite often my kids are invited over to be alone with you. And if when I'm there, I don't see you being fair and just with your kids, I can assume that you're not fair and just when my kids are visiting. First of all, I'm going to learn your behavior from observing it. My kids are going to learn it from observing it, and I need to know my kids are in a safe environment. It's about fairness. You know, when my son comes to me and says, Kayla hit me, I don't go to Kayla and punish her. I give her a chance. In fact, I teach him to be brave and say what you said in front of her. And he can't, he's timid. And I said, would you like me to say it for you? I said, well, Jason says you hit him. Eventually he's able to say it. And then of course she defends herself. No, I shoved him. Jason, is it true? Okay, do you realize you exaggerated? Okay, and I helped him to find fairness and agreements and how to deal with it. That's all it is. It's not about condemning, it's about reforming. And you guys sin so that grace can abound. You claim grace, grace, grace. I'm saved by grace. Yeah, salvation has been given to you by grace, but you have to do something with that salvation. It's like, hey, I gave you a car. Hey, I have a car, but you never drive it. He who walks by the Spirit is the Son of God. Being open to correction. Being open to being told 70 times 7. Being open to telling him 70 times 7. Being open to bringing 2 or 3 witnesses 70 times 7 in one day. It is a lot of work. But let me tell you what, it only takes about a month for that habit to have gone away and never be dealt with again. And when you dealt with it in one individual, it's no longer being spread like leaven. You know what Paul says? A little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. It's no longer being duplicated. You know, if you're unfaithful in the few, you'll be unfaithful in the many. A fireman knows to have the same zeal for a spark as you would have for a forest fire, so that you prevent the forest fire. And the biggest problem amongst Christianity is gossip. And that's because you're not telling people, and when you do tell them, your eye isn't clean. You're finally telling them because you're finally fed up. It becomes analysis paralysis. You know, I don't know how to walk, so I shouldn't walk until I know how to walk. But how can I know how to walk until I try to walk? You know, even if you're fed up, tell them, apologize for the way you did it, and try to do better next time. It's very simple. Living by fairness. Finding out from God what actuates your own heart. Receiving power from Him to do the right thing. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you're doing it despite being afraid.